Have you ever really thought about what it takes to step out into an arena completely alone? I mean, there's no team to hide behind, no one else to pass the ball to when the pressure is really on. It's just you, your training, and your opponent. Or, the clock. Individual sports represent the ultimate test of personal accountability. So welcome to this explainer of Chapter 5. Today, we're going to break down the mechanics, the history, and the rules of some of the most demanding individual games in the world. Okay, let's dive into this. On our agenda today, we are unlocking 5 distinct arenas of individual excellence: badminton, gymnastics, table tennis, tennis, and swimming. Section 1. Smash and Shuttle Badminton. Now, this isn't just your casual backyard game. At the competitive level, badminton is an absolute showcase of explosive speed and split-second reflexes. It demands peak physical fitness from its athletes. But to really appreciate it, we kind of have to look back. While its origins go all the way back to the 2nd century BC, did you know the modern version was heavily shaped in India? Yep, in 1873, British Army officers stationed there played a version of it in Pune, which we now know as Pune. And get this, that location actually gave the sport its early name. It spread like wildfire globally from there, eventually leading to the formation of the International Badminton Federation in 1934, which standardized the rules we play by today. Just think about the physical scale these athletes are dealing with for a second. You are personally responsible for defending a massive 13.4-meter-long court. For singles, it's 5.18 meters wide, and if we're talking doubles, that width bumps up to 6.1 meters. All the while, you've got to make sure that shuttlecock clears a net sitting exactly 1.55 meters high at the edges. Imagine the sheer amount of ground you have to cover, just lunging and sprinting back and forth out there. So the crucial point is how the rules actually manage the sheer unpredictability of all this high-speed play. We've got this specific term called a let. Basically, a let is called by the umpire to halt play for any unforeseen or accidental occurrence. And honestly, here is a truly wild fact straight out of the rulebook. A let must be called if the shuttlecock actually disintegrates and the base separates from the feathers during play. I mean, that really tells you just how insanely hard these athletes are smashing it, right? Section 2. Strength and Grace. Gymnastics. Okay, let's transition now from the rapid-fire snaps of a badminton racket to the smooth, graceful, and just incredibly powerful world of gymnastics. This is a sport where literally every micro-movement is judged. You need absolute, total control over your body and space. Let's specifically look at acrobatic gymnastics. It evolved from one of the oldest forms of organized physical activity into a totally modern spectacle. It was reorganized and really revitalized in the late 20th century. The International Federation was founded in Moscow in 1973, and then it merged with the International Gymnastics Federation in 1999. The real game changer? Making a massive leap onto the world stage as a demonstration sport at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. Today, it's a fiercely competitive arena that builds stunning physical fitness and relies entirely on impeccable balance and raw strength. Section 3. Table Tennis Tactics. All right, let's pick up the pace a bit, because we're moving on to table tennis. This is all about lightning-fast tactics, where the ball travels at just blistering speeds across a tiny surface, and even a split second of hesitation costs you the point. And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanics of the pen-hold grip. Basically, the player grips the racket exactly like you might hold a pen. The index finger and thumb join right across the handle, while curling the remaining fingers on the back of the blade, keeping them always touching one another. This specific technique is heavily utilized by champion Chinese and Korean players, and it allows for just absolutely incredible wrist flexibility. And from that grip comes a truly devastating arsenal of offensive strokes. We're talking the drive, the loop, the loop kill, the hook, the counter drive, the flip, and of course, the smash. A drive applies pure energy to create blinding speed, which makes the ball incredibly difficult to return. But say a player uses a loop drive. They'll close the racket angle to just graze the ball, which converts all that energy into massive topspin. The sheer variations in spin and speed basically turn this into a physical game of high-speed chess. Section 4. Court and Racket. Tennis. Speaking of racket sports, let's expand our view from the table to the full court. Tennis remains one of the most popular individual sports globally. It's a grueling test of endurance, technique, and psychological fortitude. Plus, its history is just incredibly rich with tradition. Did you know the very name of the sport actually comes from 16th century France? Yep, players would yell the word tenez, which means to hold or receive, right when starting a game.
Fast forward to 1877, and we get the first Wimbledon championship in London. Add in the Davis Cup for men in 1900 and the Fed Cup for women in 1963, and you've got a deeply entrenched international competitive landscape.
Here's a really fascinating detail about the equipment itself. Tennis balls are hollow rubber with a felt coating, right? Well, for most of the sport's history, they were traditionally white. But in the latter part of the 20th century, that predominant color was completely changed to optic yellow. Why? Well, simply to ensure better visibility. Not just for the players tracking a ball moving well over 100 miles an hour, but specifically for the television audiences watching at home. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the geometry of the court. The length is a pretty formidable 78 feet, but pay attention to the width shift. For a singles match, you're defending 27 feet of width. But when you add a partner for doubles play, you incorporate those doubles alleys, which expands the playable width to 36 feet. That single change completely shifts the entire spatial strategy of the game. And of course, we absolutely can't talk about tennis without mentioning its famously quirky scoring system. You start at love, then progress to 15, 30, and 40. But if both players manage to reach 40, the score isn't called 40-40, it's a deuce. This is literally the ultimate high-stakes tension, because from a deuce, a player has to win 2 consecutive points to actually close out the game. 1 point gets you the advantage, but if you lose the next one, boom, you are right back to deuce.
Section 5. Strokes in the pool. Swimming.
Let's move to and see how this builds across the 4 internationally recognized competitive strokes: the front crawl, the back crawl, the breaststroke, and the butterfly stroke. Mastering just one of these is difficult enough, but at the Olympic level, these combine into just incredibly grueling individual medley events, like the 200-meter or 400-meter races. In those, a swimmer must flawlessly transition through all 4 strokes in a single race. It's where human endurance absolutely meets the dense resistance of water. And the accountability in the pool, it is totally unforgiving. There's a very strict rule. A swimmer must finish the race in the exact same lane they started in. Swimming across into another lane, or even interfering with another swimmer, results in an immediate disqualification. No second chances. You're completely confined to your own narrow path of water, and it is entirely up to you to get to that wall first. All right, we've covered a whole lot of ground today. I want to turn the tables for a second and pull a question directly from the chapter's assessment, just to see how active your attention has been. True or false? 4 players are required to start a game of badminton. Take a second, think about it, and lock in your answer. The answer is false. As we saw earlier when we were looking at the court dimensions, badminton can absolutely be played as singles with just 2 opposing players, or as doubles with 4. From the soaring shuttlecocks of badminton to the optic yellow blur of a tennis ball, right down to the isolated lanes of a swimming pool, these disciplines demand absolutely everything from an athlete. So the real question I want to leave you with today is this: if you had to step out from behind the team and face the arena completely alone, which of these grueling individual sports would you dare to master?